Namaste. Last Pint Productions presents the New Way podcast. The New Way contains positive and happy thoughts. We don't worry about how many episodes we're going to release or even when we're going to release them. I mean, gee whiz, some of the episodes you're going to hear this summer were recorded in 1928, during the heyday of pre-code film. That's a phrase you're going to hear a lot about here in the New Way. That's New Way, by the way, not New Wave. A lot of confusion over that one. And we are also not any of those other New Way podcasts. The New Way to Jesus, or The New Way to Making Millions working remotely from the comfort of your own home without doing naughty things on a camera. Though, we do enjoy that one if we're being honest. Now, before you listen to this episode, recorded sometime in the last decade, we need to come clean about getting a little dirty here on The New Way. So, be sure you've got those headphones on tight, and no little ones are within earshot. Okay, you cunt? Listener discretion is advised.
So you were in Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah?
Were you in the shit?
Yeah, I was in shit.
Last night, Darth Vader came down from planet Vulcan and told me that if I didn't take Lorraine out, that he'd melt my brain.
Here's how you get him. He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello, and welcome once again to the New Way podcast, where we break down pop culture so you do not have to. I'm your host, Matt Shank, joined in the studio by just one person, and the only person I need in my life, Mr. Benny Scott Wilson.
Sup, boys?
How's it going? We're doing an old two-hander.
An old two-hander.
We don't do these a lot.
You invited me over for an old two-hander, and I
did.
did not get what I was expecting.
and it was very brief, and now we have to record a podcast.
You just put a mic in my face.
I was done with the original two-hander just too quickly, and we're like, well, what are we going to do now? Maybe just record a podcast. So it worked out great. Thank you so much for tuning in. This might be one of our rare back-to-back weeks of episodes as we limp towards trying to officially get to enough podcasts that we can still claim that we come out most Wednesdays, but it's gonna take a little extra scheduling.
I mean, I come on every Wednesday.
This is why you're not allowed back in the Starbucks, and that's an important thing to remember. Yeah, it's just Benny and me tonight. We got some fun preamble, I think, and catching up. We were jawing in the kitchen and realized we could probably just be doing that on air too. I'm curious, have you had a chance yet to watch any of Agatha?
I've watched the first episode.
Right.
I have not gone beyond that, but Margo watched it with us and is very interested as well.
I gotta say, it's the gayest in the best way, the gayest Marvel property that has existed. Like the most gay coded thing I think I've ever seen in all time.
She has no idea what's going on.
Of course,
because she didn't watch WandaVision.
Yeah,
and but even Beth, who watched and loved WandaVision, was like, I have no idea what's going on. So, but that first episode, like golf claps. I mean, it was so funny that they were just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna absolutely do the Law and Order.
That and like it was all of like the True Detective Mare of Easttown, the Wire opening credits and song choice.
So fucking great.
Based on the Danish series WandaVision, like that. There are properties that I will always love specifically because they're geared towards such a niche. Just like, this is our audience. We know what our audience is, and this is what you want. And
what I love is Aubrey Plaza has one line right in the middle of the episode where she's like, is this what you think of yourself? And then immediately goes back into the episode.
Yeah.
And there's no mention for 20 more minutes until things start to devolve at that point. No, I was like, wow, that's commitment.
I mean, I think the casting is fantastic. When is the last time we've had, 5 female leads in a show? in a Marvel show that struggles sometimes to have a single female character that's worth watching in some of their movies. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where it goes. And I'm on, I think episode 4 drops at midnight tonight. But 2 and 3 have been super enjoyable in terms of just kind of doing. And
I guess we're hanging out until midnight.
I know. Well, the other good thing is if Beth and Margot don't know what's
Tomorrow's
going on,
Rosh Hashanah.
it is. This is WandaVision in time for Rosh Hashanah, which is the third time this week Rosh Hashanah has come up in random conversations. But who knows? Because I texted my friends the other night. Because there were fireworks going off in the neighborhood. And I was like, what is anyone celebrating? And my first thought was like, it can't be Rosh Hashanah. And that was also my same answer to Beth when she was telling me the news story about all the birthdays in Boston that are on July 27th. So she was like, the 6 months to that was 2 nights ago. And I'm like, we're trying to figure out what event is happening in Boston that people are procreating at this time of year. And I was like, it's Rosh Hashanah. It's the culprit's always Rosh Hashanah.
It's Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, and that's when all the Jews bang. Apparently.
I was like, is there a big enough population in Boston? Is there a large Jewish population in Boston that I don't know about, or is it my first guess, which is like this is right around the time that the Red Sox do or don't make it into the playoffs, and people are banging one way or another.
That is the correct answer.
Or Rosh Hashanah. I'm still not discounting it, but probably the baseball thing. Speaking of sports, Benny, you were telling me about a series you're watching that you are highly recommending. I think some of our fans would be interested in.
Yeah. So Ryan Murphy has obviously done the whole American Horror Story, American all of those series. The most recent American sports story, Aaron Hernandez, is absolutely captivating. I love it. And I'm really impressed by it.
What is it? Where do you? Is this like on Hulu or is it an FX show?
No, it's an FX show.
FX show.
Yeah. Lots of fucks for FX, by the way.
They've never really cared for a while.
Yeah, I guess nowadays they kind of get away with that. I noticed this on SportsCenter the other day. Like Pat McAfee can apparently just say shit as much as he wants to. Which I'm like, oh, that's cool.
I think we're at the point where we're not. There's the FCC is not really this entity that it used to be. And if kids want to go see swearing with people in motion, they can go on a billion different websites.
They're already on YouTube. So.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but no. I would say that the Aaron Hernandez American Sports Story is way better than it has to be. And super compelling, super informative. I have some notes on some of the casting, but other than that,
Old man Tebow.
Yeah. The guy who plays Tim, 19-year-old Tim Tebow, is definitely 35 years old. But other than that, no, I really, really enjoy the show.
Awesome. I forget. I don't think I brought it up on the last episode, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself. And Ben, you might remember better. But I've caught up and finished. I started and finished a series that aired many years ago on HBO. Not many years ago, but it originally started as a web series in 2012. And then HBO picked it up in like 2016, and I think it ran to 2020. And I know I was telling you about it, or talking to you and Beth about it the other night in person, but I don't think I mentioned it on air. But a show called High Maintenance. Yeah. And I recommended this to a few friends that I was just casually talking to, but I wanted to bring it up in the podcast just because I finished the show, and it is really one of the very few things I've watched that had 40 some odd episodes, including the webisodes, maybe like 45, that just I felt delivered every time, just really delivered. And it's it seems like such a simple and easy plot, which is basically you've got this guy that's a weed dealer and weed deliverer. Dealer makes it sound much seedier than what he is. He's this very much dude-esque.
Would you say he's an anti-hero?
I think he might show up later on in some of this, but he's sort of this dude-esque guy that roams around the city, and you get to meet these people that he's delivering to, but it's not like you're getting their huge parts of their lives, and then he just occasionally will interact with them. So it's not like you're waiting for him to come and deliver to a new person. You're seeing lives outside of him and kind of all the stuff's going on. And then eventually he's going to show up, or he's going to show up to someone that's in their periphery. So it's really much more about the city. It really is very much about New York City. It's such a kind of love letter to the weirdness and the random stuff. And the one thing I really appreciated about it is that you're introduced to all of these different things, from like people that have like the real doll babies, there's these like, I forget what they're reborn babies, or these like things. And so the episodes always start kind of comedically looking at these kind of, people on the edge of the periphery of kind of the average society, and you're laughing and you're kind of judging, and then by the end of it, all of the judgment is gone. Like the show never once judges any of the people you're watching. The closest it comes to it, and you won't know what episode it is. So, but there's this woman is having this like 3-way with these two guys for this entire episode. They do a whole episode that's the day that Trump was elected.
Okay, now I'm interested.
Yeah, their episode, like they don't say what the event is. You kind of eventually pick it up, but they've treated almost like a terrorist attack happened on the city, and it's this day where everyone is like panicking and being really nice to one another. And this woman has picked up these two guys, or like they met at a party the night before, and they spend the whole day banging because their phones died and they don't have chargers, so they don't know anything that's going on. And then he comes by later on and he's like, "Oh, you guys are really making the best out of like a bad situation." I'm like, what? And he's like, "You need to check your phones," to check their phones to see it. And so the woman is out in the balcony, and the guy's talking. One of the guys is talking to his mom, and then he goes to the other guy, "Hey, mom wants to talk to you." And he realizes that the two guys are brothers, and this woman has had no idea the whole time, and she's just in the balcony like, and like no, can't react, can't do anything. And you've watched these people all day, like they have just been completely naked in the episode, all this stuff, and it's one of the funniest reveals. Like I laughed out loud so hard, and the end credits of every show are kind of these like, they remind me almost like the Moments of Zen from the old Daily Show. There's these kind of like vignettes of they kind of tailor the episode, and it's just her taking the longest shower of her life and scrubbing like every inch of her body. Highly recommend High Maintenance. It'll take you no time to watch. They're breezy 30-minute episodes. The webisodes are like 6 minutes, but I had such a good time watching that show.
Awesome.
Do you have any other ones you've been watching, Benny?
Well, I mean, if we're not going to get into the topic,
we will.
I've been watching Penguin.
Penguin.
I would like to say that and Matt has not seen it yet.
Not yet.
I think we're gonna watch the opening after.
I know there is I've been sent a foot photo from it that I don't appreciate, but thanks, Adrian.
I know Paul really likes the show. It's pretty impressive. It is a crime drama, and the opening sequence, as I told Matt earlier, the opening sequence in the first episode that goes into the title is that may have been the hardest I laughed. Not like an intentionally funny moment at all. Like it's very intentional what they're trying to do with it, but it's not trying to be funny, but it is funny.
It just provokes joy. It sparks joy. I love that.
So I would say Penguin is definitely A+.
There was a funny. I was watching a clip of him on Graham Norton this week, and he's talking about.
He does not like that makeup, man.
No, well, he talks about the makeup. He said he's like, I became reliant on it though because it did change so much. And he goes, especially I had my stare when I was in the makeup was like very different. And he goes, and then I would I'd forget about that, and I'd sometimes take it home with me. And he's like, because I was at a bathhouse in New York, and I'm sitting in a sauna with this guy, and I realize I'm staring at him, but with like the Oswald Cobblepot stare, and this guy's just like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, dude?" And he's like, "I gotta turn that off, I think." I'm
Yeah.
curious, Benny. Did you catch SNL this weekend by any chance?
I haven't recorded. I haven't watched it.
Okay, I was curious. The spoiler alert for those of you that have not watched SNL live.
I heard it was awesome.
They cast. We have our political cast members for the season, and their casting for Tim Walz is the most perfect choice you could have possibly picked.
Who is it?
It is Jim Gaffigan.
Oh,
And I was,
so
it was
good.
literally like I was going through names upon names and was thinking of every person I could think of. And as soon as I saw him on screen, I was like, oh, come on. This is it. This is Tim Wall. This is the dad's dad of VPs. Super great. And then they brought in Andy Samberg as Doug, which was great. But yeah, the Gaffigan thing, I was like, okay, you guys have me for the whole season. I'll watch him and Maya Rudolph forever, as long as they'll let me. So good.
Yeah, I listened to the Lonely Island and
nice.
Sam Meyer's podcast, and the one that came out on Tuesday, and they were like, yeah, just so if you haven't heard, and there was this huge thing where, Andy's back on SNL, and apparently what's going to be a recurring role.
Yeah. Well, and doing the two things he hates to do: a political sketch and an impersonation, which is hysterical to me. Before we get into, we'll get into our topic in just a second. But I did, since it was such a hit last week, the before and after titles. I decided to prepare 5 more of these.
Oh, fuck
for
you!
Ben. Now I went back to our roots, which is
I'm sure I've got them all.
I think these are a little bit easier. Now, in the hint you get for each one of them is a movie and a musical, not necessarily in that order, but there's one movie, one musical that make up the title. All right, so here's your first one. A night in the lives of several disillusioned young 20-somethings as they engage in sex, drugs, and wind up in the Women's Cook County Jail.
Oh, man.
These are 90s, late 90s
right. Well,
folks.
So I'm thinking of Dazed and Confused, or no. Sorry,
90s.
90s. Well,
It's a vignette. We crisscross through different stories of a bunch of drug taking.
Ben Affleck's it?
No.
Okay.
No, this is one of our favorite movies. We've you and I have bonded over this movie. A late 90s. I think even we made Nick watch it for one of our blind.
Wait, what?
I think we might have made.
I think you may be thinking of Casey.
No, we had Mark. No, Mark watched. This is different though. So let's focus on. We've got a women's jail.
Right.
That's the most important part of it.
Well, I've got Orange is the New Black.
No.
All I've got. No. Okay,
No, no. So one musical, one movie. People might be taking drugs in a grocery store, perhaps, and having.
Go.
Okay, and it's mixed with a women's jail. So we have Chicago.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. We're 0 for 0.
Chicago.
0 for 1. All right. This one's maybe easier. I don't know. One of the parts of it is hard. The other one's a little bit easier. This is a buddy comedy about a bumbling private detective who crosses paths with an enforcer as the two investigate the murder of a porn star and try to get their floating crap game a new location.
Hold on. What's the Shane Black movie? It's Rounders.
They're the opposite of the things we're going to be talking about later.
Right. It's Rounders, right?
It is a Shane Black. It is.
Hold on. I'm
That's
trying
the
to
movie
process
one.
that.
Then it's got to tie in with the musical where
the
they're
musical.
trying to get their floating crap game a new location.
Oh. Well, that would be a musical that you were in.
That is correct. This is a lot harder one-on-one.
Hold on. I'm just trying to get the phonetically.
Yes.
I'm trying to piece it out.
All
right. What is it, Matt?
This is The Nice Guys and Dolls. The Nice Guys is the Shane Black movie.
Of
Guys and Dolls is the musical. Okay, this is it's gonna go downhill on this one. I have a feeling this is a little stretched. Two vacationing gentlemen visit the Scottish countryside and accidentally are granted access to a strange world that appears only once every 100 years, where spice rules all and sandworms are a real problem.
Wow.
Lost so many listeners.
Yeah.
How
long?
hear them crying.
How long can we go? There's just dead air.
Oh, this makes me so happy. This is so dumb, but I love it.
What is it, Matt?
This is Brigadoon. Brigadoon.
Oh, fuck you.
The next one is impossible. I'm not going to even read it. I'm not going to read the next two. I was going to use Nick's John Wicked, which was after
John Wicked.
After her dog is killed by a falling house, an angry witch swears revenge on all of Oz. That's John Wicked. And then I did the one that was like, I thought the other ones might be like you'd be on board with those, and I did one that no one will get. A biographical drama about a courtesan who becomes a hero to her city, where she befriends a giant man that looks like a dog and turns him into a handsome prince. That is Dangerous Beauty and the Beast.
Wow.
So, we did it.
Well,
we did it.
You did it, Matt.
We did it. I lost all the listeners. Every single one. It's just Ryan who's like forgot to turn us off, and he's like he's incapacitated and can't reach the phone.
You know that Patrick got every single one of those and is like yelling at his car stereo right now, and he's just like, I know what it is. It's Dangerous Beauty and the Beast.
I think I have definitely made the worst game that we've ever played. So it's me. We did it. Excellent.
It's
perfect. Let's move on to our topic. So this is going to be an interesting one, very much in the feel of our old school episodes, because I don't really know. I didn't know setting out on it what the rules were going to be.
We don't really know what it means.
I think there are rules, but I don't know. But I kind of broke it down into, we were sort of talking about anti-heroes and then the idea of characters you love to hate or characters you hate to love. And so I kind of broke it down and said, you have these buckets, right? You have a character you love to hate, which is somebody that is really inherently bad, but you either their performance is enjoyable, or they are, which I don't know that necessarily fits, or they're just so deplorable that you are rooting for their downfall.
So not to get ahead of myself, but like Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight.
He is, yes.
Which I was saying, it's so good that you're like, okay, well, I'm kind of, I'm not rooting for the character.
Well, I think that falls into hate to love. Okay. I think the hate, so that's where I kind of have the ones that you want to have a downfall versus the ones that you hate that you actually like them. So we all like watching the Joker, so we're not necessarily rooting for the Joker to fail versus a name that is going to come up on here.
You want to watch him.
Yeah, versus somebody like Joffrey is someone that I love to hate. I want that character to die the worst possible death that they can.
And you're happy when they do.
And you're so happy with it. So I kind of split those. Then you have anti-heroes, which are not, they're pretty, they are redeeming themselves in one way or another. And they're really like, they're like on the beer scale, they're like the saison to like a villain being a sour. Like they're on the palatable side of the things.
Throwing fucking shade at sours there.
Goddamn right. Yeah, this is my time. And then I just added another category, which is
my time down here.
I had another category called shitty character, and this is just a badly written character that everyone hates just because they're awful. Which I threw in like Bella Swan from Twilight or like Jar Jar.
Please don't say Skylar from Breaking Bad.
I didn't. No, I will never. No, because this is just a crappy written character. I don't think Skylar at all is a badly written character.
No, it's that's I still think that's one of the worst fucking like opinions.
Yes.
Of all time. Like the idea that Skylar is a terrible character from Breaking Bad.
It drives me
is
nuts.
It's such a bullshit opinion.
And they want to defend him above her as well. Like, well, she's the real. No, she's not. Sorry, no, she's
sorry. Nope, sorry, you're fucking wrong.
So those were the 4 buckets. I just put shitty character in there because I just thought it was fun to say that they're just some characters that just suck. That they're not good or bad. They're just bad characters. But I kind of like put the stuff that I wrote down into these buckets. But then there are some that I am conflicted on because I think that you get into it is a sliding scale on some.
I think there are some that kind of cross pollinate in those.
Or that start one way and they're around so long that they grow to be something.
So
different.
where would you put Dexter on the list?
For me, Dexter is a hate to love. It is a character that we should not like. They do terrible things, but they have a code. But then also that code leads them sometimes to preserve themselves, and that makes them do shitty things. Like again, so that's someone I very much put into there. You could also say anti-hero for him as well because he is killing serial killers. But that if we go into the TV show in season 2 when he gets Dokes killed and kidnaps Dokes and is like basically taking someone who is a good and worthy character and killing them because it threatens his existence, that's where he starts to be like, okay.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good litmus test.
Yeah.
Saying, like, where is the line? Where is the anti-hero line versus the character that we, hate to love?
Well, and one of the ones you and I talked about a bunch of times that, and I was kind of laughing when I put in the list, and I put a lot of, like, double characters from shows just because I think there are ones that fall. So, like, Joffrey, I think, is a love to hate versus Jaime Lannister is a hate to love.
I mean, obviously, like Joffrey is a fucking terrible
It's a monster.
character. He's a monster. Everyone hates him.
Yeah.
Everyone wants him to die. Jaime Lannister, I think, is a much more interesting.
He is an interesting, but I remember our discussion off of the first episode, and I was like, because you were like, this becomes one of the most interesting characters in the show, in the books, and that you're really pulling for. And I'm like, he just tried to murder a child. Like in any other medium, he's irredeemably terrible. But that's why he gets into that hate to love, is that he eventually it wins you over and has some redeeming qualities, but
not totally redeeming.
not totally though.
Qualities,
But he's interesting, and he's not as black and white evil as, let's say, a Joffrey.
Yeah, of course. So I was talking to my wife, and she mentioned.
I love it.
Yeah.
There she is.
Hi, Beth.
She's right here.
So I was like, I'm trying to think of some, anti-hero, some whatever. And she was like, does Danny Damon qualify? And I was like,
yeah.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yes. Now, so this is going to get into a weird little codicil of the things here. So, a friend of the podcast, Elizabeth Robinson, kind of introduced me to a realm of the internet and of memes.
The dark web?
Not the dark web. I'm still not there yet. It is
Pornhub?
Yes, that is one of them. But, that's funny on so many levels. But so have you ever heard of the phrase of baby girlifying a character?
I have not heard.
Okay.
What?
So there is a thing called baby girlification of characters, and they are typically deplorable, awful characters, but girls have like turned them into like, oh, like let's put a little hat on him and little whiskers, and now he's been baby girlified.
Oh, so that's Danny Damon.
That's why I thought of it there. The one she gave me, her top 5 were Hannibal, Captain Barbossa from Pirates of the Caribbean. That's a very Elizabeth answer.
Sure.
Loki, Dracula, and Magneto.
Loki is kind of, I don't know.
I love
anti-hero for sure.
Yes, Hannibal I like in here very much. I think, but I also have noticed that like some of the I like when some of them are the more these middle-aged kind of guys that are not. It's when it turns into the young heartthrob guys, then I get a little bit concerned that it's not necessarily baby girlification. It's more of like, oh, they're a hot guy, which is not at all her intention. But I did think it was funny to bring it up for the podcast to think of like which of these terrible, like Dexter could be someone that you baby girlify and just make him like adorable and cute. So I just thought that was a funny, weird tangent.
That's actually relatively. I mean, I would say that's. That makes sense.
I'll show you some of the memes later on. And
honestly, like Loki's really good. I mean, I forgive Loki just because I think Tom Hiddleston is hot. So
this brings up another sliding scale I got on here. So it's the Alan Rickman effect. There are actors that are so likable and so good. Oh, what happened to my Zoom? Just disappeared. That are so good and so likable.
They're so good.
That
so likable.
You can't not respond favorably to their characters, even when they're playing the Sheriff of Nottingham, who is a disgusting, deplorable, rapey character. He makes a rape joke that's pretty funny. Like, you find yourself actually laughing at it because it's Alan Rickman.
Because it's dull, you twit, it'll hurt more.
It's a really interesting phenomenon, I think, that happens with these. Loki is another one. Tom Hiddleston is so likable and so charming that you really do start to kind of change your
empathize with him a little
bit. Like you want him to. You really want that. This is definitely
you want him to change. You want him to be the good guy.
Exactly, in which he does, and not every villain does that. I think Magneto's a really interesting one on that scale because Magneto kind of goes the reverse. Magneto
played by who? Ian McKellen, or are we talking about
both? I think for the baby girlified stuff, it's probably Ian McKellen because he's adorable. But and he plays him
well, sure. If you put a top hat on Ian McKellen,
he plays him so catty, like in X2 especially, that I'm like, I want to hang out with this Magneto because it's kind of just Ian McKellen sitting, like having a conversation. But I think there's a weird thing that happens when we like actors. And then I think there's the opposite of that, because I put a Hall of Fame of 4 performers that anytime they show up on screen, you hate them.
Did you say 4 performers?
I said 4 performers. 4, what, did I say something wrong?
4 performers?
What? 4...
I
don't know what's happening. You were trying to
say 4 for...
No, 4. I came up with 4.
4 performers. Okay. I thought you were trying to say 4 performers.
God, I just had one of those, like, medical dramas where I'm saying something and someone's like, you're not making any sense. I'm like, but I'm saying 4 performers. No.
So who are the 4 performers?
Make Stop Trump.
Not to be confused with poor performers.
No, these are great actors, but there are 4 of them, and they are performers. Well, one actress, 3 actors. So William Atherton, famous from Ghostbusters and Real Genius. He shows up on screen and you hate him so immediately.
Biodome.
But yeah, anything he shows up in, you just can't stand
asshole.
J.T. Walsh was another late great actor who showed up in any movie that he was in. He was the asshole. Beth Grant, who you would know from Donnie Darko. Anytime she shows up, and she's in Speed, when she shows up, she sucks. She's the worst.
What is it?
Oh, and Speed?
We're talking about Sparkle Motion.
Sometimes I question your dedication to Sparkle Motion.
I question your commitment to Sparkle Motion.
And she's typically playing like a racist ass. Like there are certain of these performers. William Zabka in the 80s was the same thing, that kind of stuff.
Well, so I mean, like Paul Reiser. I mean, like
in
in Aliens, he can't ever live that role down.
No.
And the thing is like, you want to like him in a movie like Whiplash, and you just can't. Because you're like, nope,
No.
that face.
No, yeah, and he made a. I mean, he was great in Mad About You, but there are certain. I feel the same way as you. There are certain performers that I connect them so much with
you
that bad
connect
thing,
them to that one role,
and I can't like them in anything.
Yeah, you can't.
Who else you got on your list?
So, what do we think about Joker?
In the movie Joker, or just the character in general?
Both.
They're very different.
Yeah.
I think that the characterization in Joker is not... It doesn't have the sympathetic effect on me that I think it sets out to have. It has more the incel effect.
So Joker and Joker Fully Unto, which has not come out yet.
No.
Which I had absolutely zero. Actually, you know what? This is a perfect forum for this.
Oh boy. Ben's about to go off on somebody.
I liked the first Joker movie. I thought it was a well-made movie. I had no interest in seeing the new Joker movie.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a strange time and place for that movie to come out. Make of that what you will. And then I listened to an interview with Todd Phillips, and now I'm like, oh, nope, I'm totally back on board again. Like, I'm 100%, I want to see this movie.
Okay.
So,
do you feel that it's because it's a different experience than you were expecting it to be as a sequel to the original?
Well, it was more because Todd Phillips talked about like their approach to the movie. And the whole reason why they made a sequel was originally they were going to do a stage show.
Okay. I know it's supposed to be very heavily musical. It is a musical.
It's a musical.
By all intents and purposes.
And he was like, I don't want to qualify as a musical, but it is a musical, basically.
The studio doesn't want him to qualify it as a musical.
Yeah.
He's fine to say it's a
like,
musical.
We're going to lose money
Yes.
if we call this a musical. But no, for all intents and purposes, it is a musical. And I heard some of the music from it, which was not released yet, but on Fresh Air, and I was stunned. I was absolutely blown away.
Okay.
By how restrained and how nuanced, especially Lady Gaga's performances.
Okay.
And I was like tearing up, like listening to it, and I was like, okay, I'm 100% down for this movie. Like, sign me up, fine. 100%, I'm on board now. But the reason why I asked about Joker is because it does have that kind of incel feel where there are tons of people who just love that first movie who don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, and it's in the movie even sets that up with the people in the movie of like he has these followers that are on the wrong side.
They don't
like
understand
these are not this is not he's not a victory at the end. This is this is not it's a loss.
He's insane.
Yeah. And yeah, I think from a performance standpoint, it's great. I'm curious to see I don't know that I would go to see. It was not one I was like chomping at the bit to go see in the theater, but it's something I will watch at some point and see. But yeah, and also, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see how much this movie kind of, to for lack of a better word, pulls a Homelander and draws more attention to the fact that these people that were like idolizing the Joker to be like, oh no, this is, you guys misread this first part of it. This is what's really going on.
Well, and that's what I mean. Todd Phillips was very clear. He was like, this is a extremely disturbed character, like extremely, he's delusional, and we don't want to lose sight of that. And it was very clear on that whole thing. So I was reassured listening to that, but just hearing the music, I was like, wow, this sounds awesome.
I'm excited.
Speaking of musicals, have you has anyone heard of a Interview with a Vampire musical? Because I think Lestat is a pretty good anti-hero.
Lestat is definitely. I don't know the books well enough to comment, but based on the movie, I would say he falls into anti-hero.
Anti-hero.
Yes, I mean
he's a nasty.
Yes,
fucking.
And does some pretty
vampire.
Awful shit.
And does awful shit, and yet you kind of root for him.
Yeah, I don't see. That's where I'm like, I don't know if he is. Does he? He's watchable. He's for me like a love to hate to love, versus I don't know. Does he have a redemption arc?
I mean,
do you feel he has a redemption arc? It's been too long since I've seen it. I know that the miniseries is out now. It's supposed to be really goddamn good. I have not seen that either, but I'm interested.
I don't know if he has a redemption arc at all, but given the fact that he's a vampire,
yes,
and given the fact that he's been alive as long as he has, when he comes back, like example, an Interview with the Vampire, when he comes back, you're like, fuck yeah, like
yeah. I think that it's interesting. So that's the question, and I think this is a really good question. Can you have, by definition or by concept, can you have an anti-hero who it does not have redemption? So like you've got,
I think so.
Okay, so that's interesting because I in my head I'm always thinking that they've got something that makes them that they're trying to be good or they are somewhat good. That's why like I look at like Wolverine and Deadpool are anti-heroes. Like they do a lot of shitty things, but ultimately they are eventually trying to be good, even if they're dicks for a lot of their time. Or if like in the case of Deadpool versus Wolverine, you meet different timelines where some of them are just straight up they're villains. They for really. So that's interesting. Like I don't know if I can. I'm trying to think of somebody. So like I look at somebody like Snape as an anti-hero, as somebody that's like villainized and not a good person.
That's your traditional anti-hero.
Yes,
but I mean, Snape,
but he's also a pretty awful person.
Snape also ends up being a hero. So
at the very end, but he's also really I've had like a lot of I used to really like it's such a weird thing to like as you evolve in your own personal life of like I always loved the Snape character so much, and then the more we've gotten into the territory of like incel, literally talking about the Joker stuff and incel things like that, the more you come to realize like he's really kind of a like get over it, dude. Like this girl didn't like you, and you spend your whole life like torturing children as a result of it. Like you're protecting them, but you're also like endangering them at times and torturing them and making their lives miserable.
Yeah,
you're a pretty asshole guy. What do you feel?
Open your pages to 394.
94. Yeah, because I think there's like, and there are people like, do we think that Walter White is an anti-hero, or is he just a villain?
I think that he is an anti-hero that becomes a villain. Over the course of that series.
And then sort of has a almost redemption at the end, but not quite. He's kind of leans into it, but still protects the family.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's where I feel I'm more comfortable with that as kind of anti-hero. But I like that idea that he's an anti-hero that really turns from doing a bad thing, but for a good reason, to just doing a bad thing to do a bad thing.
Yeah, of course. And so if you go the exact opposite direction, if you want to talk about somebody who is terrible, but who you can't take your eyes off of, and who you almost want to root for just because they're so evil, Stansfield, Gary Oldman, and the professional Leon.
And he's really bad.
Like,
really
he is the worst. And I never want, I want him to be on screen the entire movie. And I was like, shit, like, why am I?
It's so weird. Like that's that like that hate to love on it versus like, and it's so weird. Like, cause you can look at a character like that, and I can be like, oh, I get that, and I look at a character that's equally well played, equally watchable, but firmly falls into love to hate, and that's Nurse Ratched. Like it's somebody that is
100%.
just this so viscerally makes me angry watching them, and I can't. And I don't know what that switch is. That is the difference between Oldman and The Professional and her and Cuckoo's Nest. Like they really should be side by side, but he's more fun.
Well,
is a lack of a better.
He's a little bit more cartoonish.
Yes,
he's a little more over the top. I mean, bring me everyone. What?
Yeah,
everyone. I mean,
he's
on.
eminently watchable for sure. And I put also in the I put in the because I think there's a I hate to love also for like Billy Zane characters. Like Billy Zane's just really fun to like watch as an asshole.
You hate Billy Zane characters?
I mean, Cal in Titanic is terrible person. Just an awful guy. Just really the worst.
Billy Zane was the bomb in Phantom.
It's great in Phantoms. The Phantom. No, I think Billy Zane is another one that can play. Billy Zane can play asshole. And almost anything I watch Billy Zane in, I kind of like, I think you're kind of a dick.
Back to the Future.
I think you might be kind of a dick in real life too. I don't know it. I have no proof of this, but I look at you and you have a punchable face. You have I wouldn't trust you around like my sister.
I have it on good authority that Billy Zane listens to the podcast, so I'm really sorry.
So sorry, Mr. Zane.
Billy, we love you.
I love to.
Really do love
I love
you.
to hate you. I love to hate you.
No. Matt just loves loves to hate your terrible characters.
What do you think about a character like? So they're two. I picked a lot of these doubles from the same show. So I was looking at Mad Men, and I was looking at Pete Campbell, and I was looking at Don Draper, and I feel firmly that Don Draper is someone I hate to love. I shouldn't love Don Draper. Don Draper does a lot of like really questionable, awful things, but I want to watch him. And Pete Campbell, I love to hate. I just hate every time he's doing something.
I had to stop watching Mad Men because I hated Don Draper so much.
He's not a likable character for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, so whenever Don Draper would do something terrible.
Oh, shit, that's so good. He doesn't listen to the show.
Inside jokes are fun for everyone. No, I really did have a hard time finishing that show because Don was an impossible character for me to watch.
Yeah. And that's a really interesting thing. And like I think that there are so many of these on these lists that I think you will talk to people and we might talk about characters that kind of that like hate to love, and there are people who are like, no, there's something about them that I can't watch them. And I put literally on the hate to love list, I put every character on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's not a redeemable character in the lot, but they're wonderful to watch.
I mean, I love that show, but
but they're all people that you hate. You hate that you are like laughing and loving these things because there's nothing redeemable about it.
Yeah, it was funny for 2 seasons, and I was like, I'm done with this.
Same as Larry David as a character in Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is another tricky.
Well, I would say that show has a little bit more legs, personally.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough. I find them both in the same. They feel very.
They're definitely in the same range.
I have a difficult time with like I can only watch. Like it took me a while to catch up on Sunny when I first started watching because I came to it a little bit late, and I was like, I can't watch too many of these in a row because listening to Charlie Day scream for like an hour and a half, it used to drive me crazy, and I love it now. But it's very much a show that needs to be taken in small bites because otherwise you're like, I'm hanging out with the worst human beings. If I knew any of these people in real life, I would not go anywhere near them.
This is kind of really not even appropriate to share, but this was well before I met my wife. I remember I was dating a girl and we were watching Always Sunny on my couch in like 2008, and the episode, and she was like, "If I have to watch another episode of this, I'm gonna kill myself."
And you're like, so one more?
So
one more?
I was
One
like,
more?
"Oh, okay, yeah,
yeah.
I think we agree."
It is. I had a really hard time with that show, and I've turned full circle now because I think it's done interesting
That was
things.
2008, so
I know.
it was early on.
That's when I started, like around 2009. I was just so I had like 3 seasons to catch up on, and I tried binging it one day, and I was like, I literally just had like turn my TV off and go out and be like, I need to go take a shower and like get out of here. This is terrible.
But the one episode where it was like a flashback where they're in revolutionary times. Where,
I forgot about that.
I mean, that was a pretty good one.
There are some amazing episodes they've done. They literally did one of the most beautiful episodes I've seen with Mac doing a whole ballet at the end of the season, which was like unbelievable. But yeah, listen, it's got legs for a reason. They may be unlikable, but they are funny. They're funny with it.
Fight of the night, man.
I'm trying to think of. There were like certain characters that popped out, and I had a lot more that were like the love to hate. I had one of the ones I hate this character so much, and it's such a great performance. And there's actually 2 love to hate in this movie, but Percy in the Green Mile, as well as what's his the actor Sam Rockwell's character. I forget it's Billy something whatever. But the 2 of them together are
Tommy John or whatever it is.
Like 2 of the worst human beings ever. And getting to see both of them have their like comeuppance, including having Rockwell's comeuppance at the hand of this other character, is kind of amazing as well. But Stephen King does a really good job of building out the love to hate.
Stephen King loves doing that.
Yes.
And that's why I'm also super excited about hopefully we get it, but we get the Dark Tower, the Dark Tower as adapted by our friend Mike Flanagan, friend of the show, Mike Flanagan.
If only. Also, a friend of the show, Carla Gugino, because she knows Mike, and we're all friends.
Speaking into existence, man.
As long as he and Carla want to come by, I'll make a nice dinner for all of us. It'll be great. It's good.
Him and his wife can come on.
She'll be there too,
awesome.
but also Carla Gugino should come by. I just want to make sure that she knows that she's invited because she's a friend of his.
Yeah.
Not that I know her, but I've heard nice things.
Yeah,
So,
of course. Of course. No, I would say Stephen King does comeuppance so well, like in all of his stuff.
It is one of my favorite things is watching his black and white villains get just served.
Just served.
It is so satisfying, and I think that's the biggest factor of a love to hate versus hate to love is that you will be upset if these characters don't have some sort of downfall. Like if they don't, it's such an unsatisfying thing to watch, which it happens in shows, and it's it not often, and I don't mind having something that ends on like a bad note, but sometimes if you've painted somebody so evil,
it's almost impossible.
It's like I have to have something to either you got to redeem them in some way that I'm okay with them staying on, or I just need them to be like tortured or killed or something at the end to make it satisfying.
King is really good about painting his villains in a way where when they hit their comeuppance, it's actually satisfying.
And you're just waiting. You're like, oh, this isn't here. You can feel it building, and you know it's going to happen, and it's so good.
Can't wait until book 4. And so, do you know what they've been talking about? Is
I haven't read anything on it in a while.
So, apparently, they're going to make a movie for 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And then they're going to make a TV series for book 4.
Okay.
Which book 4 is my favorite. That's the one that's the Western.
Okay.
And
I've only read 1 and 2.
The one that I thought that Kevin Costner should direct, but maybe not now.
He's going through some.
Yeah, he's going through some shit now.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen with him. But does Flanagan have all the movies rights as well, or only the TV portion?
Got everything.
It's got everything. Okay.
Yeah. So apparently there's going to be 6 movies and 2 TV shows.
If that means I don't get new Flanagan for a while, then I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. He's got to be putting time in on it.
For all of those out there that don't know, The Dark Tower is the best fucking thing that Stephen King ever wrote. So, yeah. Be excited. Be excited that we might actually get this.
There is photographic evidence of Ben dressed as Roland, the gunslinger, on Halloween.
I wasn't gunslinger.
Where every person was like, "Oh, you're a cowboy," and he was like, "No, I'm Roland, the gunslinger," and he got angrier and angrier every time. So I was like, "Oh, you're a cowboy." He's like, "I'm not."
I got angrier and angrier and drunker and drunker.
I'm not a fucking cowboy.
I'm not a fucking cowboy. I'm a gunslinger.
It's a good costume. It's good. Good duster. I enjoyed that one.
What were you with that?
I was Walter from The Big Lebowski in that one.
Oh,
that was
right.
we did well. And then was that Beth Cruella?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good. That was at Mike's. That was a good.
That was Mike's 50th birthday party.
That was a great time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who do I have anybody else? I had a lot of TV characters on the more TV characters than I had movie characters. I had a character I used to watch 24 religiously. I mean, I watched the series all the way through the end, but they had a president character that lasted like 3 or 4 seasons. Charles Logan. He was a great love to hate character to the point at which I was like, I got kind of tired. I was like, I don't really want to see this guy anymore because it's not enjoyable. I think that's the danger with TV is if you don't dispatch of them in the right time frame, they either become too annoying and you're like, I don't want to see them anymore, or they just become likable because like Negan in Walking Dead became likable.
Yeah. So I was gonna say Negan, or in like for example Breaking Bad, you almost get to the point where the characters are so likable you can't kill them.
Yes.
And I mean that was Jesse.
Yeah. That was, he was supposed to be gone twice in that show.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, we can't do it. And instead they killed Gail Benecker. Always sad to see Gail die in that show. But it is really interesting. In their shows, keeping with Vince Gilligan, he does the same thing really great with Chuck
X-Files,
McGill. X-Files and in Better Call Saul with Michael McKean's character is handled so perfectly to where, and you know what? And he does something really interesting in Breaking Bad, and I'm sure this exists in other places, but I was just thinking about it right now. He takes a character that you love to hate, and he gives them their comeuppance, but their comeuppance is so harsh that you're kind of like,
oh man, that's right.
I think it was too much. I think it was too much, and maybe I'm more sympathetic. And you keep kind of going back and forth with that character of like, you want to see him taken down, but then when you do see him taken down, you're like, you feel
bad. You feel dirty.
And that's
you feel dirty.
And that's a really hard line to walk.
Ooh,
that takes both the writing and somebody like McKean giving a performance that's equally heartbreaking and just asshole. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of other. I'm sure there are. I off the top of my head, I can't think of another one that has such a back and forth where I'm like, intermittently being like, I want good things, I want bad things, I want good things, and then the character dying, and you'd be like, oh my god, now I'm gutted. Like now I don't have that character in here anymore. It's super interesting. I'd have to think harder on that, but I don't. It's got to exist elsewhere, but that does it maybe better than anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, Better Call Saul was kind of an outlier in what it did. I mean, even beyond Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I mean, God, Vince Gilligan, so good.
Yeah, I think I remember watching because there's 2 episodes with Chuck. If you've seen Better Call Saul, there's 2. One is Jimmy gaslighting him with the copy place.
The one where he changes.
He changes the date, and then he goes to and you're like, first you're like, yeah, he fucking got him, and he gets him in the courtroom, and then Chuck tracks down the copy place, and he has an episode and falls and hits his head, and you're like, shit. And then he acts like a dick again enough that you're like, you know what, I don't feel so bad. And then they do the chicanery episode where he gaslights him again in the courtroom with the battery in the phone that he sneaks into his pocket, and he has a full meltdown in that play. And they also do it with Howard Hamlin in that show as well, that Howard's not super sympathetic and likable, and then they take him down a terrible path to the point where you're like, oh. And then what I love that's another version of this character that's kind of great is Hamlin's never bad or evil.
No,
he's just a dick, and he's not even a dick. He's just
he's just the stereotypical
he's
corporate.
Not, you don't like him, but there's no reason. It's so funny. I remember as they're leading up to all this stuff, you're like, oh, here's Hamlin. He's so like he's a big stuffed shirt, like his big stuffed shirt, and but you can't even picture there's nothing. You keep asking yourself, what did he actually do? I've made my mind up about him because he's on this thing, and then when bad things start to happen to him, you're like, oh man, I think I'm part of the problem. I think I wanted something that, and because everyone's like, but what did he really do? And you're like, well, I don't know. He didn't. He just was kind of an attorney.
I think we should just retitle this episode about why Breaking Bad is like one of the best television.
And Better Call Saul, both.
And Better Call Saul are the best.
They're a great 1-2 punch. I can't think of, and because I think one of the reasons why we continue to talk about a show like this is like we started talking about Dexter, and I didn't want to talk about Dexter anymore because after season 4 of Dexter, I don't want to think about what happened in that show.
John Lithgow in Dexter is one of those villains.
Season 4.
That's season 4,
and that is a very much a love to hate in just holy shit, and just waiting for what's going to happen with that, which is fun. Dexter has on both sides of the coin. You're dealing with a villain on a villain always, which is super fun. I mean, it's the same Breaking Bad. You're looking at villains and villains. You're looking at shades of villainy for everybody, and even Better Call Saul by that same token. Saul's not a good guy. He's not a good person. You're rooting for him because he's like the head of the show, but he's not a good person.
So. I paused this question before we got on the podcast. Ray Seymour in Breaking Bad.
Yes.
Is wonderful. She is not somebody that you're supposed to hate.
Oh, you're talking about Scott Anna Gunn. Yeah. No,
sorry.
Anna
not
Gunn.
Ray Seymour.
She is so Skylar is not always a likable character.
No,
but she is also. She is someone dealing
she's
with
so necessary.
Yes,
to that entire story.
Well, she's an interesting part of that story because she's the one that's going to learn about what's happening with him ahead of everybody else in her family.
Yeah.
We don't. By the time the kid knows, he's like fuck that guy, and like he instantly is just like no, because Walt's become such a cartoon villain at that point that it's very easy to be like no, you're doing the wrong thing. Versus her reaction initially is also like, what the fuck are you doing? But there is this, not even a temptation. It's more of like, I don't know what to do. And it's a great question for any married couple or just people that have really close friends. What if this person that you trusted and cared for.
Trusted implicitly.
And then all of a sudden did this thing and they're like, but I'm doing it for a good reason.
Or for us.
To make things okay, because otherwise we're fucked. And you're like, it's like taking the Valjean thing to like 170 instead of Valjean being like, I took some fucking bread and I'm going to suffer the rest of my life for it. This is taking a little bit more than bread, but it's a good question. Like if I told you like, hey Ben, I started cooking meth and selling meth, and because I really need the money, and we can't do the podcast unless I sell more meth. You're gonna be like, all right, what do we need to do to help you sell more meth?
No, I would definitely help you sell meth.
Perfect. See, this is why we're good friends. If any law enforcement professionals are listening to the podcast right now, this is a hypothetical.
I'm a fucking chronic cancer patient at this point, man.
You can get away with it.
If one of my friends was just like, hey, I'm taking heroin or whatever. I was just being like, yep, it's fine. It's fine.
Baking heroin.
I don't know. I don't know how drugs are made.
Baking heroin is the porn version of Breaking Bad. It's just baking heroin.
Baking heroin.
I don't. Not that I know how.
And Wilson joint.
Not that I know how drugs are manufactured. But I don't know if there's baking heroin. I'm curious now.
I don't know.
Like, something smells good in here. Has somebody been baking heroin? Oh, that's wonderful. Lovely.
It's almost Halloween.
These are some heroin encrusted pumpkin muffins.
Smells like heroin.
Oh man. And it makes sense because I don't like needles, so I don't really want to be injecting. So why can't I bake heroin into some tasty?
You don't like needles? I was fucking stabbed like 19 times last.
I know, but this is why. This is what I've got to deal with. Is I need to have my heroin baked because I'm a little girl. I'm sorry.
All right.
Did you have any others on your list, Benny?
No, I think we ran through the ones.
What were the ones specifically that Beth had brought up? Was it? Oh, you brought up Daddy Damon.
Daddy Damon.
Daddy Damon.
And then what's that?
We should say Daddy Damon for those listening. This is if you're not watching House of the Dragon. There are many a person in that show that falls into these categories.
Oh, I hate that character, but yeah, it qualifies.
I think so. I mean, the Game of Thrones has done well with the franchise as building pretty much all shades of gray and everyone. And if they are not a shade of gray, they're going to be killed. If they're an unabashedly good person,
it doesn't even matter if they're going to be in a shade of gray.
No,
you're going to be killed no matter what.
They'll be killed, but they're going to get killed faster if they're really good people.
Yeah.
I still remember a friend of the podcast, Greg, coming in after the Red Wedding episode of Game of Thrones to work and being like, I'm fucking done with that show. And I was like, what? And he's like, I can't anytime there's a good character, anytime there's a character that's a good person, as they're just I can't do it. I just get watching all these good people get like murdered over and over again. It's like, oh, it's kind of the show. It's the game of life and death in the Game of Thrones. It's good stuff. We want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the New Way Podcast. We're going to try to sneak in another one, maybe a Sunday record. I don't know.
Maybe.
Try to get some more out. I'm trying to get us to I would love to get us to 26 episodes. That's a lofty goal in the next 2-3 months, but I don't know. I think we might be able to do it. And then you can stop hounding us.
I'm down.
You can stop hounding us about not being on most Wednesdays. So you know what? We're going to prove you wrong, and we're going to get to over 50% so we can claim we are most Wednesdays. That's the goal. We're going to do it. We got this.
How many do we have to get to get over?
We have only done 12 or 13 episodes.
Oh shit, we have work to do.
We got to do as many as we've done this year. We have to do in the next 3 months. We got to do another 12 or 13 to get us there.
All right, Matt.
I think we can do it. I think we got
Let's
this.
buckle down.
We're also give us goddamn topics, because that is the one thing that probably keeps us from recording more than anything else, is trying to figure out what the fuck we're going to talk about for an hour to 90 minutes.
I enjoyed the two-handers tonight.
I did. This was great.
It was fun.
We've been pretty good at just being like, I have a random idea. Let's try this. So maybe we'll keep trying. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Cheers.